Hi, everybody. My name is Darlene Rondo, and I'm the Vice President, Best Practices for Leonardo's Online Merchandising Group, and I'm going to be your host for today's special event. We're really excited to share with you some valuable insight into the changing shopping journey, and in particular, how to use mobile to reach more travel shoppers and drive direct bookings. I'd like to welcome everyone today from around the globe, and to those for whom it is the middle of the night, and I know there are some of you out there, a special thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping items before we begin. First, we're going to be recording today's webinar, and at the conclusion of today's session, we'll send a thank you for joining us email with a link to that recording, which you can share or listen to again at your leisure. Additionally, we have a questions dialog box in your GoToMeeting panel, and I think several of you have already discovered it, so thanks for communicating with us already. And throughout our discussion, please send in your questions through that dialog box, and we'll address them as we go, and if we have time at the end, we'll tee up those questions as well. Also, GoToMeeting has a new feature. They enable us to update and upload handouts on the topic in the GoToMeeting panel. So if you're so motivated, we have a couple of educational pieces in there about the topic of mobile specifically. So go ahead, click on those, and you can download those educational pieces. We're also going to be tweeting during today's webinar, and thank you, Greg, for helping us do that. We're always happy to have you join us. So please feel free to join in the conversation at #LeoWebinar. So as we always do, we start with a poll because we like to get a sense from the audience what kinds of things are running through your heads and what challenges you have. And it also helps us frame up our discussion. So the poll I just launched is asking you the question of, what is your biggest challenge with mobile? And you have three answers to choose from. The first is finding the budget to do it right. The second answer is convincing senior management that it's a priority. And thirdly, you're just not sure how to get started. So I see everyone has found the poll, and folks are weighing in. We have, initially I thought it was going to be all about convincing senior management, but it looks like it's kind of a tie between finding the budget to do it right and not sure how to get started. So we are going to give you some tips today on how to justify spending the money and how to get started. So thanks, everybody, for weighing in. I'm going to close the poll now, and we're going to continue with our presentation. So first, I'd like to welcome a very special guest, Robert Cole. Robert, for those of you who have joined us before, you know Robert has been an industry expert on a number of topics on our webinars. And Robert is the founder of RockCheetah, a hotel marketing strategy and travel technology consulting practice that diligently attempts to prove that marketing, travel technology, quality service, and profitability can peacefully coexist. Robert's hospitality industry experience includes leading marketing planning for Four Seasons Hotels, heading Saber's hotel line of business, launching the Neat Group, the travel industry's first dynamic packaging platform, and leading product contracting for Mark Travel's 14 vacation brands. And in his spare time, if that's even possible, Robert, he writes papers for Focusrite, authors his views from a Corner Suite blog, curates the travel quote of the day, and publishes a travel news fire hose on Twitter. Welcome, Robert. So glad you could join us. I'd also
Thanks,
like to
Darlene.
introduce, thanks, Robert. I'd also like to introduce another special guest, Bernard Augustin. Bernard has spent years in different hotel management capacities in New York and the New York metropolitan areas. After working in the commercial and residential property management field in New York, he transferred his skill set to the hospitality industry. He has experienced the business from many different angles, including management, established branded hotels such as Holiday Inn Express, to large-scale hotel conversions. He's also worked in the corporate sector with brands like Club Quarters in Stamford, Connecticut. Bernard's current focus lies in the boutique hotel world in the effort to build a modern, mid-sized, scalable prototype. Welcome, Bernard. Glad to have you here. It's always great to hear from a hotelier themselves on the subject at hand.
Thank you.
So, before our speakers begin, I'd like to set the stage for our conversation today about mobile. Steve Jobs famously made a post-personal computer prophecy, and this year it comes true. Mobile sales will surpass desktop sales for the first time in history. Since the explosion of this on-the-go world, the question is, have you adapted your online storytelling strategy to include a great mobile experience for travel shoppers? And as you'll hear in a minute from Robert and then from Bernard, ensuring your property has a great mobile presence really should be a priority. Google research tells us that 83% of leisure travelers have had a poor experience on a mobile travel site. And only 23% of those who encountered that bad mobile experience actually pushed through to make a booking. That means you're totally missing out on booking opportunities if you haven't stepped up to mobile yet. And so now here's Robert Cole, and he's going to continue the subject. And Robert, I now have given you control of the mouse and keyboard.
Great. Thank you, Darlene. Well, we'll get rolling here. I have a lot of slides and a lot of stats to cover, and I want to leave ample room for Bernard. The one thing maybe a little bit disappointing for people is that I'm going to be talking a lot about mobile being the same as desktop because really my prediction, Steve Jobs was dead on with his 2015. I would predict 2020 if we had a webinar like this, we'd be looking back going, why were we treating mobile differently? It's now the pervasive platform that's used by, as you see, 73% of the world's population has mobile devices. 40% of them are smartphones, but that's growing rapidly. And you can see the smartphone subscription growth. Up 9% in the U.S., large base, but China 21, Brazil 28, India 33% annual growth. It's skyrocketing. Not only that, but the use of those smartphones, global data is rocketing skyward. Now these numbers, 70% 2012, 81% 2013, larger base, 69% still in 2014 is amazing, with video taking 55% of that traffic. So this isn't something that we're talking about in the future. We're actually talking about something that has already happened and is rolling out massively globally. And also, in terms of smartphone searches, Google just announced in 10 countries that include the US and Japan, smartphone searches are exceeding desktop searches. So it isn't mobile first, it is you must be mobile now. So this slide is very important because I don't want to spend a lot of time telling you here's this trick that's perfect for your clientele, your guests. They will respond to this. 7 steps that work everywhere. You need to figure it out for what works for your guests. But I'm going to give you some hints and tips on what to do to make that work very effectively. So first we'll look at the 7 phases of travel. You have to understand that when you're interacting with a guest, just like in an interpersonal relationship, you need to understand where they are in that relationship. So it may be inspiration. They don't know where they're going or what they're doing. They have an idea. They're taking a honeymoon. They want to get away for the weekend with the family and kids, that sort of thing. What's inspiring them? That's a different conversation than when they're ready to book. So the 7 stages are inspiration, then research, figuring out, well, where can we go? Boy, we can't get to the Seychelles this weekend. That's going to be difficult. Things like planning. Well, okay, now that we are going to go to X place, we've decided on Hawaii. Where should we stay? Which island? All those sorts of details. How do we get there? How do we get to and from the airport? Those sorts of things. A stage that nobody else uses, I've been using for a number of years, is validation. That is a third party that is endorsing all that work that you did before of trying to figure out where you're going to go. Is it the right choice? That's where traditional travel agents always played and still play a very important role. But that's also where TripAdvisor lives and really controls that from a digital perspective. Then through all that, you finally get to booking and you start making some confirmed reservations. Now you get to travel, and particularly when we're talking about mobile and smartphones, your smartphone is with you this entire time. So the experience when they're traveling, very different from when they're researching, that sort of thing. And then finally, they share that information, which in turn starts driving inspiration. So the key is context. You need to hit your guests with the right messages at the right time. And of course, your objective is to engage them. And the only way that I know how to engage a guest is to understand what their goals are for that trip. And that's not their frequent guest number. That's a very important thing so you can identify who they are. But what are they trying to accomplish on that particular trip? And if you can start doing that and look at the overall end-to-end experience, and certainly the online travel agencies are doing that. Some of my research with Focusrite, they are trying to look at what happens from the time you leave your door to the time you return home to your door. How do you tie all those specific points together to give people a great trip overall? So best way to do this is to look at traveler personas. This is me for an example in the center of this graphic. I make very different decisions if I'm going to a business meeting or if I'm traveling with my family, if I'm off with my wife somewhere, or hanging out with college buddies. It winds up, I'm a very different traveler. But the bottom line over all of those, if you can just figure out specifically, here is the type of traveler. Even if you are at the north end of an airport, who are these people coming in? They're just stopping between flights. They're coming in for a stay before a trip out of the country. They're just coming in and using you because you're a convenient location to nearby business parks. That's fine. Figure out each of those personas and then figure out the stories that apply to those individuals. And you will be very successful in terms of laying out your website and, as we'll say, communicating this through a mobile experience. So now that was the important slide. Now we'll move to a lot of data and other information from the others. I'm having a little delay here. Just a moment.
There, I just moved it for you, Robert.
Oh, okay. That's what. And now we've done two. Okay. There we go. All right.
There we go.
So these are some examples, not necessarily of the personas that you should be looking at, but just examples of personas. Again, the personas that you should be looking at are what is that guest particularly doing. But here are some overall broader examples. A travel researcher, and people behave different ways. Not only do they have different purposes on their trips, but they do things differently. So the travel researcher, you can see they are all over the place. They're at travel sites and search engines and social. They do everything, and they in this particular case, they tend to have a slightly different demographic than others. A price hunter behaves very differently. You can see heavily on social, they're looking for the best price they can possibly find. Frequent travelers, they just go straight, they've got a rifle out that's rifle shot straight to their preferred brands. They aren't going through these other channels. And a local traveler may be doing something completely different. So again, you need to understand all of those different aspects of that individual and what they're doing, how they behave, and that way you can start crafting various stories. And again, if it's a frequent traveler and come in, you can really make sure that you have nice stories where if they come straight to your site, you give them the information that they need and they can make a quick decision and accomplish their goal.
Hey, Robert, Amy
Yes.
from the audience has a question. She
Sure.
wants to know, what if my audience is made up of all of those different demographics? How do I create a story that addresses each of what they care about? It's a great question.
And they will be, My favorite example is actually from outside the hospitality industry. There's a very famous case study of a group that sold diamonds. And what they figured out, and it's a little bit sexist, I apologize, but for women, when
That's it. I'm cutting you off right
now.
No,
I know. But the weird thing is it worked. But for women, they kind of made pages pink and that sort of thing, and it was very sort of social. Who used what kind of diamond rings and things like that. And it and also navigation path of stories and content that you could go find. For men, they used blue. Sorry, again, very sexist, but it's all light refracting in diamonds and things like that. Very scientific, a lot about the price and things like that. So if you look at these two sites or these two different personas coming in, very, very different, but they both fed from the same engine in terms of shopping and that sort of thing, but all the content that you kind of were fed to and what was promoted and the links that were on these various pages steered you down the path of saying, this is someone who's going to be looking at this analytically. They're thinking, they are making a purchase decision with their head for the guys, and the women are making a purchase decision with their heart, and that's very, very different, very, very different perspective. So it goes into a lot of strategy. So anyway, but we'll go through here because we need to leave room for Bernard.
Thanks, Amy, for sending in the question. And to the audience, keep those questions coming in the questions dialog box, and we'll try and address them as we go. Back to you, Robert.
So next on to inspiration. Inspiration, I'll say consumers now don't really care about the device format. They don't care that you're having a problem getting your beautiful images that work so beautifully on your desktop onto this very small piece of screen real estate. They just want it to happen, and they want it fast, and they want it simple. And that's the most important thing of how you, again, if you start thinking of these personas of where people land and the channels that you're going to be talking to, and to isolate these out a little bit, then you can start developing these things and make sure the navigation is easily a click or two away for them to go right down their path, especially with mobile, to make sure that there are large call-outs so they can tap it with their finger and they know exactly where they're going if they're trying to go to the next step of your story. So the key is really to start with your strategy and then use that technology to support the strategy. So we don't have time to go into the technology, but I'm a huge fan of responsive websites. Takes a little bit more planning to start off with, but really gives you an opportunity to have a site that has the content in one place. You don't have to manage multiple sets of content, and it can be produced and presented on a variety of screen formats. But you also need a robust content platform. Certainly if you're working with international markets, you need to make sure that you have localized content in local languages to make sure that various images are culturally appropriate, that sort of thing, and also adaptive content. So if somebody does enter in your booking engine 2 adults and 2 children, you want to start showing them images of families. That's really terrific. Or if they're looking over a weekend with a couple, that may be a nice, and it's 2 adults, then that might give you a hint that works for for couples, sort of thing. And that's that's a very important aspect of it. So one aspect of the inspiration, the decision stage when you're accessing the site, if you look at the bottom of this, a lot of people don't know what they're planning on doing. So again, if you can offer a range of activities, look at your key selling propositions. What is the differentiation of your hotel against your competitive set? That will lead you to really provide, here's what's great about us, and guess what? A lot of the people who visit your site may not be your perfect guests. They're just shopping. But if you can present yourself and what you are, then you'll wind up converting those guests and be able to move people down the funnel. So the next stage is research. So they start digging through these things, through all the details when they're searching. And the research, this is from Google last year, is that travelers use the same types of sites for research on smartphones as computers. It really lines up very similarly. So there's not a massive differentiation. There is a little bit more map usage and navigation certainly on a smartphone, but really that's the major difference there. And this is from some very fresh Focusrite research, which is just out. It's actually so new I can't use some of the numbers on the sides, but we do have some global averages for this. Focusrite produces less than 2 weeks ago, and they haven't even had their webinar on it yet. But these are the types of devices used for leisure destination selection, and they looked at Australia, Brazil, China, U.S., UK, Germany, and really a large number of countries and a variety of different destinations. And as you can see, about 2/3 of group search using PC. But look at the range on smartphone. I can tell you toward the top are the emerging markets of China, Brazil, Very, very heavy smartphone use in terms of inspiration, of selecting those destinations. Relatively low toward more of the European markets at the bottom of that scale, more of the France and Germany is at that scale. And then tablets, I include here, but tablet behavior heavily used at home and really behaves very, very much like a PC. So on to the next stage is planning. Darlene mentioned what happens with poor experiences. Mobile is so critically important. The thing to convince your management, if you are getting any pushback, is if you do it poorly, you are punished. And so following a poor experience, what happens? Well, yes, 2/3 of the people may try to connect with you in a different way, but that leaves a third who are just going to give up. But the negative impact on the brand is 40%. 20% go to a competitor's site, 13% start complaining on social media, 13% just give up on you completely, which is a pretty severe punishment. And almost 20% will go rat you out to their friends and family and tell them not to use you because you've got a bad mobile site now means you may not have a very good operation and you may not have a very good hotel, which may not be the reality of it, but that's certainly the perception, and the perception of your guest is their reality. At the planning stage, the stats in terms of how that's happening by device, again, close to 70% of shopping is happening still on PCs. But again, look at this huge range on smartphones, ranging well up above 50% in some of these emerging countries like China and Brazil. And again, down a little bit more in the around 10%, that sort of thing, and more of the European countries, the France and Germany, UK being a little bit higher. So again, very, very important and growing rapidly on smartphone for the planning phase. Now the next stage, validation. Again, used to be travel agents, guidebooks, travel writers. TripAdvisor owns that space now. It's huge digitally. Everyone's stopping off at TripAdvisor. And then in terms of the sharing of it, Facebook, blogs, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, all those different social channels, people are finding out, certainly on Facebook, you can see where your friends have traveled, what they like, that sort of thing. And incredibly, incredibly important. Also, traditional travel periodicals are getting their staff slashed. They're restructuring. They're trying to figure out their business models. So a lot of those classic travel publications, the nice monthly glossy magazines, are really under a tremendous amount of stress, and everything is going digital. In terms of the validation approaches, some of the stats that came out really from the Focusrite study were interactive maps are incredibly important. How do you present your proximity to landmarks and attractions? That's a major focus of why people travel. They want to be close to something. If your hotel is close to these things, if there are major events taking place, it doesn't matter if it's a Super Bowl, it may just be a state fair. That's great. Let people know where those attractions are, how you're there, if you provide transportation to them, all those things that remove the friction from your guest's trip. Photos and videos.
That need for interactive maps, that really transcends all travelers. So whether you're a business traveler or a leisure traveler, proximity to things is really important for everybody.
Absolutely. And in terms of photos and videos, I interviewed a lot of the product and chief technology officers for a lot of the major OTAs last year for a Focusrite project. They said the one absolute given was that great photos can translate into bookings, and that is perhaps the most important thing that you can really look at. The other thing, though, is that traveler photos and videos are considered more credible than your professional ones. Now, that doesn't mean that you should not have professional photography, but they look at that and go, well, that's the hotel showing itself off at its best. What you really want to do is make sure that you do enable traveler photos, those sorts of things, videos that they've created, and the same thing, responding to ratings and reviews. If you can do that, that just lets them see, wow, this is the reality, because that's what they're searching for on this validation. They want to know the truth. They don't want to get a sales pitch. They just want to know what they can expect, so they're going to have that great experience that they're looking for.
And I know Bernard's going to talk about this in a minute, but Deborah from the audience has a question about making it your own. And what we'll see from Bernard's website is that he's integrated maps and photos and videos and ratings and reviews and all those things into his website. So yes, Deborah, you can totally make it your own, and we'll see that in just a minute.
Yeah. And kind of a sad stat, this is from the folks at L2. In their survey, their digital IQ index for luxury hotels, less than 1/3 of the luxury hotels feature guest reviews on their brand website. So that is a huge missed opportunity. So moving on to booking, if it's mobile on a smartphone, Apple Pay, Google Wallet, it's coming, it's being used. It is 5 years from now. That is how you're going to buy things. Pulling out your little credit card and swiping, that sort of thing. It may still occur, but it's going to be so simple and so easy. Starbucks is already doing over 16% of their traffic through their mobile app, and people paying. It's what people are learning to do. They're getting trained on it. They're getting positive reinforcement for it. That's it. Another one that's very important for booking, the seamless integration between your website and your booking app. That's why groups like TripAdvisor and now Google are having their on-site booking, things like TripAdvisor Instant Booking, because conversion was dropping off when you handed off to a hotel site. The experience wasn't consistent, it wasn't very good, and all of a sudden conversion dropped, and they were putting an unnecessary obstacle between the guest who was trying to accomplish their goal of booking a hotel and that experience. And that's why those folks are doing that. It's what the guests are demanding. And mobile commerce share of e-commerce is growing, and this is for travel transactions from a Criteo study. iPhones are now 9.2% of e-commerce travel. Android transactions 8.2%. That's getting close to 20%. So it's rising rapidly. Another thing is, please don't train your guests to have bad habits. And this ties into revenue management strategy and a lot of other things, but 72% of online travel agency mobile hotel bookings are made within a day of arrival. Individuals are getting trained to wait to the last minute. That's not necessarily a good thing for the hotels. And another thing is, emerging markets also use online travel agencies. Yes, they're using smartphones like crazy, but they're also using online travel agencies even more like crazy. China, it's a 4-to-1 ratio of using online travel agencies to hotel sites. Russia, 3-to-1. Brazil, 2-to-1. You have to be very, very conscious of that. If you don't have a good mobile experience, they will find it elsewhere, as we saw, and they will go to the OTAs who do focus on this, and they don't have to worry about cooking food and making beds. They just look at the travel experiences. And again, here's a leisure hotel booking by device. You can see smartphones a little bit lower. Folks write stats at 16%, but that again is growing. Now, once again we've gone through all this, now you get into the travel experience. Again, the hotel, I'm sorry to say, hoteliers, I know you're very proud of your properties, but the hotel, except for a few hotel geeks like myself, it's not the focal point of the travel experience. It's your job to be the frame to your guests being the artist and them working on their trip as the canvas. Let them paint the most beautiful picture that they can. It's your job to enhance it. So enhance it, let them create the memories. And the bottom line, the rules are, it's the guest deciding how this works. They want to work with their staff. They like working with their staff. I don't have the stats here, but J.D. Power has a great example that the more staff interaction there are with hotels, the higher level of guest satisfaction. With airlines, it's the opposite. The greater the interaction with the airline staff, the lower. Take advantage of that. The guests want to interact on their a few quick L2 stats. Mobile checking for luxury hotels, 7% from mobile app, 12%, or I'm sorry, 12% from mobile app, 7% from the mobile site. Same with room service. those are going to be growing rapidly. A great example, take a look at Lucy, which is the
Hey, Robert, you
um,
have about 60 seconds to wrap up this
okay.
section.
Oh, sorry, I'm taking too much time for Bernard. Okay.
That's okay.
So here are the stats. Here are the stats on the travel experience. Again, the shopping, booking, destination activities, a lot of it happening online, a lot of it happening on PC, but smartphone growing rapidly. And then when we look at sharing, very quickly, you folks know the different types of sharing sites, but the key is how do you make this easily tappable on a phone so they can share status updates, photos, they can link over to a review site and enter a review, make that very, very easy for them to do, and they will be promoting your hotel. One note on analytics, make sure that analytics are included in all this. Tag all of these just like you would an ad campaign so you can track where individuals are coming from, who's booking, who's sharing, and then really try to measure that in terms of customer lifetime value. The channels used for sharing, important stat right here. Down at the lower end of the list, the did not share, that again is for the emerging markets, the Chinese, the Brazilians, where it's only 2 or 3%. All of this up here in terms of the high end are being aggressively shared with smartphones. So again, that experience that they have, if you give them great experience, they will use that smartphone to share it.
Thank you, Robert. Very well done. Tons of questions coming in from the audience, and we'll see if we can get to those at the end. So thanks again for sharing that with us. Always really valuable. So just to recap what Robert said, 3 to 4 people on the earth have a mobile device. And so are you connecting to them and communicating with them so that they're in the right position to purchase travel, in particular hotel rooms, and in fact in ways that we have never imagined. And that's why understanding their behavior, as Robert talked a lot about, is key in delivering the right content at the right time. And we know that nobody wants a bad purchase experience, which is why consumers place so much emphasis on validating their accommodation decisions, as you'll see in a minute from Bernard at the JHouse. And as I mentioned earlier, Bernard has smartly integrated reviews right into his desktop and mobile website. So without further ado, I would like to welcome back Bernard Augustin from the JHouse in Greenwich, Connecticut. And now, Bernard, you have control of the mouse and keyboard.
Thank you, Darlene. All right, well, first off, I want to thank everyone for participating in this webinar. I want to thank Robert for his extremely informative presentation. As Darlene stated, I'm Bernard Augustin. I am currently the AGM at the JHouse Greenwich. I'm responsible for all hotel operations. See if the slide moves. All right, nice. I'll be discussing how our newly developed mobile site has directly garnered us an increase in bookings. First of all, the JHouse Greenwich is an 86-room boutique luxury property that was developed from an old abandoned Howard Johnson. The name of the hotel actually comes from a reconstruction of Howard Johnson. Howard Johnson, Hojo, J House, J Hotel. So that's pretty much how the name came about. The property went through years of construction with a heavy emphasis on building a technology-driven hotel. We opened in May of 2012. The hotel's journey has a lot to do with where we are today. The original developer actually left the project halfway through construction, which kind of caused a trickle-down effect. There was a social celebrity chef that was actually part of the original team that left when the original developer left. And the actual builder is the one who took over the project and purchased the property. And this particular builder wasn't in the hotel business, was anticipating to own a hotel, and this kind of fell into his lap. So as anyone in this crazy business of hospitality knows, when you're not in the hotel and restaurant business, and you try to go ahead and get into it without experience, it's kind of a recipe for financial disaster. So the new investment team decided to enlist the services of a hospitality consulting firm who, in my opinion, made some questionable, maybe debatable decisions. And I've kind of tried to mend some of those decisions in my position running the hotel operations. Like I said, we're located in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's one of the most affluent communities in America, and we're surrounded by Fortune 1000 companies. We're also in the epicenter of the hedge fund world. So we primarily have a corporate base for the weekdays, and on the weekends we get quite a few social groups, bar and bat mitzvahs, a lot of wedding groups, because Greenwich just has beautiful scenery. And we also get a lot of travelers coming up from New York City because we're only 30 minutes north of New York City, so we get those kind of weekend warriors and people coming out for suburban life to escape New York. We originally enlisted the services of TravelClick when the hotel first opened. It was kind of a one-stop shop and kind of a way to streamline all the processes of the hotel. When I took over the operations, my goal was to remove as much of TravelClick's DNA from the hotel as I could. You know, I won't speak poorly about TravelClick, but they offer great services. We've garnered, you know, nice ROI from a lot of their products, but it is extremely expensive. And actually, to this day, we still have some of their products that have produced a good ROI. But with the website, TravelClick was administering our website. We were spending nearly $1,200 a month on a website that wasn't quite producing what I thought it should. And we were stuck in overlapping contracts that made severing ties with TravelClick a little difficult. One of the challenges we face at the JHouse is we have so many different outlets and so many things going on. So to convey what we have going on and all the services we offer is very difficult to guests. And a frequent complaint I've heard from guests checking out of the hotel or while they're walking around the hotel is that they didn't know we had a pool, they didn't know we had a restaurant, they didn't know we offered continental breakfast, they didn't know we had a fitness center. So with an optimized mobile site, especially since we're seeing so many people using devices now, you can tie in these different medias and also answer a lot of guest questions pre-check-in. So the question was how we tell our story. In a building with so many different things going on, it's very difficult to convey everything. And with Leonardo's product, we are able to do that very easily and seamlessly. So I'll move on to the next slide here. It kind of shows our home page. So when you first go onto our Visibly site, our Leonardo site, you'll see just an image of a standard room in our hotel. The great thing about the new site is that as soon as you log onto it, you're able to kind of get the visual on different aspects of the hotel, from our lounge area to our coffee bar, which is a huge dining outlet and a place where people gather for breakfast, to a larger room type. So you'll see different options for rooms, to the fact that we offer meeting spaces, to the fact that we have a beautiful lounge overlooking alfresco dining, the fact that we have a very huge wine culture and a great wine cellar actually overlooking one of our meeting spaces, and we have a heavy food and beverage culture. So just with the imagery, you get a real kind of knack for what's going on at the hotel without any words, which has been very significant for us and a great change. With everyone glued to mobile devices, you realize how important it is to brand and have some mobile muscle. And we've been able to efficiently tell potential guests who we are on mobile devices, and we've seen results, direct results from it in the past, actually 45 days since we've been using this product. Business Insider came out with an article in April 2015 stating that 60% of Google searches are now performed on mobile devices, which is very significant. As of April 21st, the coin term of Mobilegeddon kind of hit, with Google releasing updates to their search engine with algorithms kind of reformatting and refavoring mobile-friendly sites to kind of boost them to the top of Google's page. This is very important for the hotel industry. It's very important for us. If someone searches Hotel Greenwich, Connecticut, or Hotel Westchester County, or Hotel Fairfield County, we want to pop up at the top of those searches because we want to be the first click site. So with these enhanced algorithms that are by the way ongoing, we want to continue to stay up top. And without a mobilely optimized site, we wouldn't be able to. So
hey,
this
Bernard,
also
I know.
Yeah.
Bernard, here's a question from Shiv in the audience. He wants to look at your mobile site, and I know you have a terrific mobile solution. I don't think we have a screenshot of your mobile per se, but I would urge everyone in the audience to go to the JHouse Greenwich and from your mobile device, and you'll see the mobile version of it.
Yes. You go to jhousegreenwich.com, and you can take a look at our mobile site. And
Great, thanks.
Tied directly in our website. Yes. All right, so there's great competition from the OTAs to, from a hotelier standpoint, kind of take our bookings. And paying commissions to OTAs is a very painful thing sometimes. It's a necessary evil, but the OTAs like Hotel Tonight and Booking.com just releasing their new app, they are ahead of the curve, and kind of the hotels are always trying to play catch up, and we're kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes to maximizing our mobel prowess. What we've noticed in the past few years, we have really strong data that it shows the change in booking habits. In 2012, the first year the hotel opened, we took about 5,000 transient bookings, and about 300 of them came from mobile devices. And over the years, the increase in mobile bookings has been fierce. We're now close to 40% in 2015 of our bookings from transient guests are coming through mobile devices. And the numbers just continue to go up, and I think it's very significant. We're also seeing higher ADR from mobile bookings, and we're seeing last-minute bookings coming in at higher rates from guests booking mobile because they're in a rush and they just want to get it done and they're on their phone. I've even experienced guests in the parking lot of the hotel making reservations on a mobile site and then walking in. So
that's interesting.
It's very interesting.
That's what I do. That's what I do, Bernard, on OpenTable before I go into a restaurant. If I didn't make a reservation, so I get my points.
Oh yeah, and then they want to make sure. Can you please log me in
right.
the OpenTable when I come in?
Yeah, a little different than a hotel reservation.
Oh yeah. We're also seeing consistency across all media outlets, which is extremely important because we want to tell our story in a very consistent way. We want to look the same if you're on our Instagram or our Facebook or our Twitter page, if you're on Booking.com or Priceline or Expedia, and the Leonardo tools have really helped kind of hone in on the imagery and having consistency, whether you're on a tablet, whether you're on an iPad, whether you're on an iPhone. So it's just a great way to convert lookers to bookers because people want to see that consistency. They want to see your brand represented the same way across different platforms. And we've just seen it as a great way to convert heads to beds. So wrapping up, our short-term results is we've seen an increase in meeting inquiries on our mobile site because our mobile site right now, it's so easy to use. Before it was a little convoluted. Now, something as simple as having an email link on a mobile site, we've seen so many emails coming in. Obviously you need a good spam filter, but we've seen so many actually legitimate emails coming in with inquiries for meeting spaces that we've been able to convert. before we had a kind of a form system where you had to write your first name, your last name, your email address, your phone number, what your inquiry is, and we found in the past month and a half that people don't want to fill out all that information. They just want to click a link that takes them right to their email and send us an email for an inquiry. We've seen an increase in non-commissionable bookings, which means that people are staying on our site, our mobile site, and actually converting rather than searching around and going to an OTA. We've seen consistency across different media outlets. Actually, we just installed the app on Facebook so that you can book directly from our Facebook page, which has garnered us immediate results as well. We're seeing consistency. We're seeing less phone calls from potential bookers, which is really big because it keeps our guest services associates focused on different tasks and keeps them free to be more productive in different areas. We've also surprisingly seen a steady stream of new guests in a hotel where we have a lot of frequent flyers, we call them. We've seen quite a few people coming in that we've never seen before, and they're booking through the mobile tools, and we speak to them. I speak to them especially because I want to get to the bottom of how people are finding us. And they're finding us through Google, and they're booking us through the mobile engine, which is phenomenal, and it's a great way to see immediate change and to gauge it as well. And we've seen the return on investment with social media with our Facebook page and the apps that we just installed on Facebook. So basically, in long haul, just in the past month and a half, we introduced our new website and booking engine on June 1st. We've seen just immediate impact that is provable in numbers. So it's been a great experience for us, and we're going to continue to move forward. We're actually planning a new photo shoot next month because we want to expand on our digital framework, and we're actually going to do a video shoot for the hotel in the beginning of August and introduce a whole new video platform that will plug right into our Leonardo website, featuring a few different aspects of the hotel. In all, it's a great tool. We've been able to track everything very easily through Google Analytics, and we're only progressing from here.
Excellent. Thanks, Bernard, so much. We have a ton of questions that have been coming in from the audience, so I will tee them up to you. So the first question is, so are you serving up a different version of your site on the desktop versus mobile? And yeah, go ahead.
We are. It's actually very easy. With our old model with TravelClick, we actually weren't able to manipulate our website and our mobile site seamlessly together. There were two different portals, which was time-consuming and annoying. Now, I think there are some images that I find show better on a mobile device than on the website. So we've been able to kind of manipulate it so that there are different images that show on our mobile site than on our website.
And I think, Bernard, the other thing that people need to realize is it's about content as much as it is about context. So what you're doing at the time you are using your device. So my behavior is going to be different if I'm sitting at my desktop in my office or at home or on a tablet for that matter versus, as you said, am I in the car driving down the road and I want to see what's going on at the JHouse tonight, right? So different behaviors depending on what I'm doing.
And something that Robert touched on, which was mobile users' behavior, I think that if we really refine this product and fine-tune it, we can even analyze to the point where we know what kind of bookers are coming to the hotel. So if we normally get social blocks on weekends, we can actually manipulate the pictures to show families, on a Thursday night, on a Friday night, on our mobile site, so that those images will be more likely to convert the social bookers rather than the corporate. And then we can switch the images again very easily on a Sunday night for all of the corporate bookings that will happen on a Monday.
Excellent. And I think you said this, but Shiv wants a clarification. So your sites are mobile optimized, so they're searching however they're searching, they're able to find the JHouse on their mobile device, pops right up because it's mobile friendly, or on their desktop, and then they're using, we saw in, and I'm just going to go back for you because I want to show everybody a picture of your website again. And so you have the book your stay on every single page of your site, whether that's on the desktop version or the mobile version, right? So they are booking directly with you.
They are. They absolutely are. And we've seen that as a great tool because any page you're on, whether it's mobile, whether you're on a mobile device or on a website, you always have the availability to book.
And that's important. Robert talked about that as well, right? Don't make it, don't force them to go somewhere else. Don't train them to go somewhere else, and just make it easy for them to book with you.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, we've had a ton of questions from folks. Bernard, thank you so much for being so generous with sharing your experience. We really appreciate it. To recap what Bernard talked about, storytelling is weaved into the fabric of a property, and using rich imagery to describe an anticipated experience really does sell more rooms, as we just heard Bernard say. And Robert alluded to this as well. OTAs are an excellent source for qualified referrals, so create a strategy that leverages them, because we know consumers are going to go to the OTA, but the thing is, make it such that they're going to end up booking with you. And it really doesn't take long to see the results once you've implemented your mobile solution. In fact, your new website solution, I think, Bernard, you said you have been implemented for about 45 days, right? I think, Bernard.
Yes, about 45 days we've been running, basically since we launched in the middle of June 1st.
Excellent. Well, everyone, I am going to launch another poll, because we'd like to get everybody's sense of what you thought about the content that you heard today. So I launched the poll, and the question is, based on what you heard today, will you attend a future webinar with us? And so I'm going to give everyone a chance to weigh in, and wow, 100% right now say for sure we will. Okay, it's going to 95.5. So 95, yes, we will, and 5% not sure. So we are super happy about that, and we're always interested in hearing what you'd like to hear more about. So shoot us an email, shoot me an email, and we will definitely keep those topics coming. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. We talked about Visly, which is a solution that Bernard is using. If you're now convinced that the mobile optimization is a requirement of today's modern hotel shopper, then you'll benefit from launching your own mobile site, as we saw Bernard talk about, to reach more travelers, drive direct bookings, and that's where Visly, which is our multi-channel digital marketing system, can help. Visly helps you engage with those travel shoppers by creating a relevant and powerful visual story about your property. And as Bernard said, it's an easy and budget-friendly way, and that's important, to create your mobile website. So there's no need for a webmaster or any advanced technical knowledge. The websites are built to best practices, and they're Google verified, so you're going to receive higher mobile search engine rankings. They make it easy for travelers to find the information that they're looking for when they're browsing from their mobile device, leading them down the path to booking your property. So that wraps up our session for today. Thank you for joining us. Next month, we're going to be talking about visual storytelling and how to use it very specifically to attract more guests and make more bookings. Many of you have asked through the webinar that are we going to send out a recording, and yes, we will. We'll send out a thank you for joining us email with a link to the recording. You can listen to it again and share it with your colleagues, as well as we'll have the presentation on SlideShare, and we'll have a link to it in the email that we send you. So Robert Cole from RockCheetah, always so interesting to hear your insights and for you to share the data that you're always right on top of. So thank you for helping us out with that today. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And Bernard, thank you for joining us. It's always really helpful to listen to a hotelier tell us about your specific experiences, because at the end of the day, I think, everybody's day is super, super busy, and we, want to cut to the chase and figure out how can I do what you're doing for my specific hotel. So we really appreciate the fact that you shared that with us today. Thanks, Bernard.
Oh, thank you so much, Darlene. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to everyone who joined us on the webinar today. This is Thursday, which is the new Friday, so everybody have a good start to your weekend, and we'll see you next month, August 6th, for Visual Storytelling to Convert Bookings. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.